Let's talk about something that doesn't get people excited. No machines, nothing about forklifts, and no mention of productivity or numbers. I'd like to talk about paperwork. I know, but this isn't boring paperwork. This is the paperwork of life. The kind of documents that quietly follow you from your first job all the way to retirement. The kind that, when handled correctly, makes life easier, and when ignored, can create stress, delays, lost money, or even lost opportunities. I was looking for the right word here. I highlighted the words personal responsibility, and that's not really what I'm looking for. But there are things we ourselves need to make sure we get right. So instead of harping on what we need to do, I'll just speak to it in an I've seen how this plays out kind of way. Because here's the truth. No company, no HR department, no recruiter or government agency cares about your paperwork more than you do. And they never will. When someone gets a job offer, they're excited, and they should be. But onboarding isn't just about orientation videos and a badge. From day one, you're asked to complete documents like I-9 employment verification, W-4 tax forms, direct deposit information, benefit elections, emergency contacts, policy acknowledgments. And these aren't just forms. These documents determine whether you can legally work, how and when you're going to get paid, how much tax is withheld, and whether you have insurance, and who gets called if there are any problems or emergencies. When onboarding paperwork is filled out incorrectly or we rush through it, problems can start immediately. Delayed paychecks, incorrect tax withholdings, missed benefits, and the worst part? Most of those problems are preventable. Here's a tip or an opinion, I guess. If a document affects your pay, your health, or your job security, slow down. Ask questions if you do not understand something, especially anything like deductions. Read what you're signing. If you don't understand a box, don't guess at it. Guessing on official paperwork almost always comes back around to us. The I-9 form is one of the most misunderstood documents in employment, and one of the most important. This form verifies your identity and your legal authorization to work in the United States. It requires specific documents completed within a specific time frame. If our hiring agent doesn't properly complete the I-9, you may not be allowed to start work. Your employment could be delayed or you could be terminated, not for performance, but for a compliance issue. And this isn't personal, it's just the law. As a worker, our responsibility is simple but serious. We need to bring valid, acceptable documents, make sure names match exactly, and pay attention to dates and signatures. Just this week, I heard about 3 individuals that met all the qualifications for a position, interviewed great, was offered the position, only to say that they didn't bring 2 forms of ID. Their hiring process was delayed until they could return with their documents. For one of them, the position was filled before she could return. And then to our recruiter, being unprepared for an I-9 and the onboarding sends a message, fair or not, that you didn't take the process seriously. Taxes are another area where people often say, oh, I'll just fill it out the way I always do. That mindset can cause problems for us. Your W-4 determines how much money is withheld from each paycheck. Too little withheld? You might owe money at tax time. Too much withheld, and you're giving the government an interest-free loan all year. And it's important to remember that life changes. Things like marriage, kids, second jobs, side work, all affect how your W-4 should be filled out. And here's another tip or opinion, I guess you could say. Our paycheck is our responsibility. If something looks off, ask about it immediately. Waiting 6 weeks doesn't fix it. It only multiplies the problem. And I want to mention a bit about our personal records too. Health records, immunizations, vaccinations, physicals. In warehousing, manufacturing, transportation, and logistics, these come up more than people realize. Certain jobs, different sites, or clients may require proof of tetanus shots, hepatitis vaccinations, physical capability exams, or ergonomic testing, even drug screening history. Yes, these requests or needs are rare in our field, but if you can't produce records, you may be delayed from starting a job or even be excluded from certain assignments or have to repeat tests at your own expense. Keeping copies of our health records is just really important. It's about preparedness. I suggest to create a simple system, a physical folder at home or digital copies on a secure drive with clear file names and dates. This is one of those future you will be thankful for habits. Oh, and many people assume education records don't matter once they're working. That's just not always true. High school diplomas, GEDs, college transcripts, certifications, licenses. These documents can come up when applying for leadership roles, moving into safety or compliance positions, transitioning into office or management roles, and applying for specialized training. Saying I completed it is not the same as proving it. If you've earned something, keep the documentation. You worked for it. Don't let missing paperwork slow your progress later. And here's another free opinion. Your resume should never be written in a panic. It should be updated after each role, after learning new equipment, when gaining certifications, and after taking on leadership tasks. Too many people try to rebuild their entire work history the night before applying for a job, and details will get lost. Dates get all fuzzy, job titles blur, and we'll leave off some of our accomplishments. A resume isn't just for job hunting, it's a record of our career. And here's another quick unsolicited opinion of mine. Keep a running document. Add bullet points as you go. That way, when opportunity shows up, you'll be ready. Now let's talk about open enrollment. This is where people can get hurt financially. Open enrollment windows are written in stone. Miss them and you may be locked out of health insurance, dental and vision, life insurance, or disability coverage until the next enrollment period. Saying I didn't know doesn't reopen the window. And this happened to me last year. I asked about the dental and vision offerings, but I didn't follow up when no one got back to me. So I didn't have dental and vision insurance. Understanding your benefits isn't optional adulthood. It's more like survival planning. If you don't understand a benefit, ask HR. That's why they're there. And don't hesitate to follow up if you haven't heard back. Ignoring enrollment because it feels overwhelming can cost thousands of dollars to us later. Here is a hard truth. Deadlines don't care about your schedule, your stress, or your intentions. Miss a form deadline and benefits don't activate. Our coverage can lapse. Pay adjustments don't happen. Professionals respect deadlines, even when the task isn't exciting. And we are professionals, right? That's part of being dependable. And all this documentation follows us right into retirement as well. At the end of your career, paperwork doesn't stop. Believe it or not, it actually increases. Retirement accounts, pension records, Social Security documentation, healthcare elections. People who kept records throughout their career transition more smoothly. People who didn't often scramble at the worst possible time. Your future self deserves better than all that last-minute chaos. I recently read something by a government agency. It said that paperwork isn't the enemy, neglect is. It made me think a bit. The paperwork of life isn't glamorous, but it is important. Careers don't fall apart because of one bad day on the floor. They fall apart because of missed details spread out over time. Let's all be sure to handle our paperwork with the same pride we bring to our work ethic. Oh, and I mentioned retirement a minute ago. One of the biggest myths is that retirement planning begins when you're close to retirement. It doesn't. It begins with your first benefit election and your first 401k form and your first beneficiary designation. The people who retire smoothly didn't magically get organized at age 60. They stayed consistent for decades. Every form you complete correctly today reduces stress tomorrow. Every document you keep track of becomes a gift to your future self. Let me leave this part with something simple and honest. Paperwork is how the world keeps score. It records who you are, what you've earned, what you're entitled to, and how you're protected. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away. It just hands control to someone else. So let's take ownership of it. Ask questions, respect those deadlines, and keep records. Okay, I'll leave it at that. I don't want it to sound like I'm standing up on a soapbox here, but I've seen so many people struggle and take financial hits over the very things we discussed today. If you have any questions about anything I brought up, check with your HR department or a member of your management team. Ask questions. And as always, feel free to send us an email to host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com, and I'll help find you an answer. Well, thanks for checking in, and as always, please be safe in all that you do.